Next we'll finish the hanging signs, and I have about a 5-inch piece of my 1/8 inch dowel left, and so I'm going to cut it in half. So now I have 2 pieces of dowel, and if you're like me, I'm going to put a bead on the end of the sign post, and my bead, the diameter of this hole in my bead is a little bit less than 1/8, so I'm just going to use my craft knife to whittle down the end until I can get a bead to fit on there, and I'll do that for both of my sticks. Next I'll use my marker and color my dowels. Now for the North Pole toy sign, I'm just going to put my finger kind of in the middle of it and bend it around until these ends meet down here at the bottom, and then I'll just put my dowel in and give it a little squeeze. And then I will open this up and I will put some score tape down here on the bottom so that I can fasten it and make it go around my dowel. It doesn't have to be super tight, but just put some score tape on so that you get it in this fashion. And then I'll remove that score tape backing and put it together, and I will keep my dowel in there while I do that. Remember, on this sign, the bottom edges are even. Then take out the dowel and flip this around and put the other North Pole sign on the other side. I burnished that side. Now I'm going to just put a little dab of glue on the end and put my bead on. If you're not having a bead, you'll just slide this to the end of the sign. And then I can follow the same steps for the Deck the Hall sign. Now there is enough cardstock shown if you match these edges up at the bottom, or if you feel that you want to have just a little bit more at the top, just slide it down a little bit. When you put the other side on, you won't see that this paper is short. So suit yourself. Now we're ready to put the signs in the building, and the Deck the Halls goes into this one with the red roof right here. It's going to go into the side. And to locate the hole, we can bring our template back in. And remember, when we originally punched it, the hole in our side panel, it was 3/8 of an inch in from the side and 5/8 down from the top. Now that 5/8 is still good. The 3/8 is going to be a little bit more than 3/8, about a 1/16 more than a 3/8 on the from the side. So if I take my ruler, I think you can see that I've got it in those dimensions, and I just gently put the tip of my narrow awl in there to make sure I found the hole. And then I can just wiggle the awl around to enlarge that hole. So I just whittled a little bit down on this end here to make sure I don't disturb the paper, and I'm just going to press this in. Might have to wiggle it a little bit. And there is the Deck the Halls sign installed. I've turned the village around. This building with the chevron roof is the toy factory. Here's the template. And the hole on the end here of the toy factory is 7/8 of an inch down, and it's in the center. So I'll just use my ruler and my awl to find that. And then I again just wiggled my awl around in there to make sure that I've got the hole, and I'll whittle off just a little bit on this end to make it easier to put the sign into that hole. I'm not going to glue the signs in. I want to be able to remove them when the project is stored in the off season so that they won't get damaged. Now if you do want to glue them in, you'll want to wait until you finish the project and then put them in. So at this point, we know where they're going to go, and we'll just take them out and set them aside. Next, we'll put decorative paper on the sweet shop patio in the reindeer yard. And you may recall that we drew these templates when we cut out the chipboard. So we know that these templates are a 1/16 of an inch too big all the way around. So I'm going to first draw a line on the inside of all of these shapes, a 1/16 of an inch in, and then I'll cut that out. So here you can see I drew the line a 1/16 of an inch inside of my shapes, and I'll cut them out. Next, we'll do a test fit of each shape and see if we need to do any fine tuning. So here's my patio shape, and that looks pretty good. I can see a reveal that I like all the way around, and I'll just do the same thing for my reindeer yard. Now that I have my shapes fine-tuned, I can cut them out of decorative paper. According to our pattern paper layout, we're going to use the red stripes paper for both the reindeer yard and the patio. And we have not used this pattern paper before. I'm going to lay them out in this direction. You, of course, can decide how you want to do it. So I'll just put my templates down with some temporary adhesive and cut out my shapes. So I cut out my two shapes and I tested their fit and they were fine. So I inked the edges, and then I have pretty thorough score tape adhesion on the back of both pieces, and that's because on the patio we're going to have a tree, and on the reindeer yard we'll have some reindeer. So I want to make sure that the pattern paper is thoroughly adhered to the chipboard. So I'll just go ahead and install both of those pieces and give them a good burnish. So to go on the patio, I'm going to have a tall bottle brush tree. This one's about 5 inches tall. It's one of the original Tim Holtz large trees. I don't think they're still available, so if you don't have one and can't get one, and at the holiday time of the year, this kind of tree in a similar size is available in most of the big box hobby stores. And then on this one, to finish the bottom, I just cut a 1/2 inch strip of the red plaid paper, 1/2 inch by 4 inches, and put that around the base. To get this finish on here, I used white spray paint or white spray, I don't know what you call it, I think it's Dilution's brand. Anyway, it was white, and then when it dried, I put some glossy matte medium, and then I don't know if you can see the sparkle or not. After that, I put some stickles on there, and in real life, it's very sparkly. And on the inside, in one of the niches, I'm going to have a little small tree like that. So while I was decorating this one, I did this one the same way. And then for the reindeer yard, I'm going to use, I think, probably 2 of the decorative deer from Tim Holtz. I haven't quite decided what color that I'm going to put on them, but I'll color them, and I won't attach them until I finish the project. Now I'm ready to work on the niches, and whenever I want to put the building down on its side, I protect the buildings with a towel on my work surface. And just try to give as much support to the joins as you can when you open this up and lay it down, because of course it's not meant to go in this position. I can't quite get it all on camera, but this is the first building down here, and down here is building 8. So in the short places, down here 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, I'm going to have some of the Tim Holtz typography words. And then in the larger spaces, here in niche 1, the top of 3, the bottom of 4, the top of 5, and the bottom of 6, I'm going to put some snowflakes. And then over here, I'm going to put a little Christmas tree. Now, of course, you can put whatever you want in any of these niches. So I'm going to start by making the snowflakes that will go in the places I just described. So I've gone ahead and die cut all of the shapes I need for my snowflakes. All but this large one were cut with dies from the Sizzix Paper Snowflakes set of dies. I have the ones I used out here on the black cardstock. This large snowflake came from the Tim Holtz Stacked Snowflakes die. It's the second to the largest snowflake. Now I've decided to layer with a light blue cardstock, and then this is kind of a shimmering glitter cardstock. I don't know if that'll show on camera. And then I have blue cardstock again and glittery cardstock. Each snowflake really has 4 layers, even though you see 5 here, because I'm going to double up this first layer for support. I have them arranged in the order that they will go into the niches. This first one goes in the first niche, then in building 3, then building 4, then building 6, and building 7. So for my first step, I'm going to take the largest snowflake of each one and determine how long the hanging loop needs to be. I've got some thread here that I'm going to use to make the loop with. So I'll take these snowflakes and get out my village. So this is my snowflake, and I'm going to determine how far down I want it to hang, and then I'll cut a length of string or thread and get it so that it will be the proper length to hang that snowflake. And I'll show you what I mean. So this is the back of my snowflake. I folded a length of string here in half. I have it temporarily attached to my snowflake with some low-tack Scotch tape, and now I can just hang this loop and see if it's the right height. And this is why doing this in the upright position is best, because then you get a very good idea of how long that is. So I stood my building up, and I see I want to make my loop just a little bit shorter, so I'll do that, and then I'll attach it with some glue down the middle here. And then I will also attach the other matching blue die cut to the back of that. And I'll repeat that process for each of the largest die cut that I have that's in the light blue paper. I've sized and tested all of my hanging loops, and now I'm going to take some glue and put the second layer of blue cardstock on top and closing that loop in between the two. When I put together this large one, I also have trimmed a little piece of matching cardstock from a scrap to go right there in the center and block that hole. So I'm going to glue that on first and then put the other side on. And then I can fill the remaining hole with this little outcut that came from cutting out the die. Next, I want to add a little dimension just on the light blue cardstock. So I've got some ice spruce distress ink here that I'm just going to lightly go around the edges of both these back ones and the other light blue ones that I have. And of course this is optional and you can use whatever color you want. Next, while these are still flat, I want to write the number of the niche they go in on the back. And if you've kept these in order, that it is 1, 3, 4, 6, and 7. We're going to layer next, but before I do, I need to patch that hole in the glitter cardstock. And I've just cut a scrap piece of plain cardstock, and then I can patch it with this glittery hole. So now we're ready to layer. I have a couple of sizes of foam squares out here, depending on how big I need. And it's just a matter of layering the large glittery one onto the large blue one, and then next the smaller blue one, and then finally the glittery small one. And you can choose how much you want to offset, a little bit or, you know, part of a turn, whatever suits you, and go ahead and layer those up. So I have all of my snowflakes layered. They're nice and dimensional, and I'll just set them aside until I'm ready to hang them in the niches. Next, we can put the typography letters into the 5 niches we discussed before. And I have some 3-inch wide Post-its here, and on them I've written near the top, or about a ½ inch from the top, what word I'm going to put in which niche. So I'm going to put believe in niche 3, marry in 4, the word and in 5, bright in 6, and peace in 7. So it'll have believe and peace on the 2 ends, and it'll say merry and bright in the middle. Now I want to size each one of these so that their length here is the length of the opening, with the exception of and. So just put and to the side, and take each one of these other ones and hold them up to the niche, and you'll need to cut off a little or more on each one. And I'll go ahead and do that. So for example, right here, this is niche 3, and I'm going to hold this up here into the niche, and I can see that I'm just using my fingernail to make a little crease there, and I need to cut off about 1/8 of that. And also I don't need it to be quite this long, so I'm going to cut about half of it off this way, and then I'll cut it to length that way. And then I'll repeat that for Mary, which goes in 4, bright, which goes in 6, and peace, which goes up here in the top in 7. And then for and, I just want to come across the front of that opening there and mark it with a pencil or my thumbnail and get the front opening measured there, and I'll cut that off. And now I have my little tags all in the niches where I'm going to put those words. Next, I'll pull out all of the letters that I need for each one of my words. I'm going to start with bright, and I've got the tag here, and the first thing I'm going to do is draw a line 1/8 of an inch away from the top. Now I'm just putting that tag kind of in front of where I have the word bright. And the letters will kind of be a tight fit. I'm just arranging them so that they will fit within the confines of my tag here. And once I have that, I'll put the tag right up underneath it. And I am paying attention to how far this T is hanging out over here. And what I want to do in this 1/8 inch space is just mark out and shade in how much room each one of these letters is going to take. And then I'll write the letter right underneath it. And I'll continue across there. Notice for the T, I only shaded in the part that is at the bottom. And I should say that this is a good time to kind of check the letters out. Sometimes there's extraneous plastic on them from the molding process, and you can remove that. So I'm going to follow this process, drawing the 1/8 inch line, and then centering my letters and drawing the little spaces for the width of the letters in that 1/8 inch space for believe, marry, and peace. And then I'll come back and we'll do and. Now for and, we don't need to draw a 1/8 inch line. Just center the word and on your tag and make the little marks. Now for each one of these, we want to fold them on that 1/8 inch line. And then I know for number 3 this is too long, so I'm going to just trim it off so it's about a 1/2 inch long. This one is going in the bottom niche in building 3, this short one down here. So put it in so that just that 1/8 inch is in the niche. The 1/8 inch is in the niche, and the other is hanging over. And I'll do the same thing for merry and bright and peace. And then for and, we'll just line that up corner to corner. And I'm just going to snip off this extra paper so I don't bump into it. So now you should have something that's like this. Make sure that you have these things in the short niches. On 3, it's on the bottom. On 4, it's on the top. 5, there's only 1. 6, it's on the bottom. 7, it's on the top. So to install these, we'll do it in an upright position. Use a little diamond glaze or glossy accents on the base of the letter. Just wait a couple of seconds or so until that gets a little tacky, and then you'll install it so that it's right behind the edge of that 1/8 inch that we have, and align it with what you wrote for each of those letters. Now if you work by putting in the first letter in believe and then the first letter in marry, etc., all the way down until you get the first letter into peace, by the time you're finished there, hopefully the B is dry and you can put in the second letter. If it's not, just have some patience, because you really want those letters to be set up before you start bringing in the next one. And some long tweezers will be very helpful for this process. So just take your time, take a break if it gets a little stressful, and pretty soon the project will be done. So here are all the words installed, and there's just one last place over here by my right thumb in Building 8, Santa's Residence. That niche, I'm going to put the little tree in. And this is my little tree. I talked about it earlier. And I have a strip of the green snowflake paper, and I'm going to use that to go around the base of the tree. Now, let's see if we can get this on camera. I'm pushing this tree in, and a little bit of it's sticking out. It's not as much as what it looks like on camera. But what I'll do is just on the back side, the side I like least, I'll just give it a little haircut, and then it will be able to sit back in there and no one will be the wiser. So you just want it to come no further than the front of this building. And I'll just install that again with some glossy accents or diamond glaze. So I debated about what to color the deer with, and I finally decided to use alcohol ink, and I used the color espresso. This is what the little deer look like now. So that's the end of the construction series for the North Pole All Wrapped Up project. I hope you've enjoyed constructing the project or just seeing how it all comes together. This is April with Craft Knife Chronicles. Thanks for watching, and bye for now.